Hi, friends. I'm Patty, and today we get to do another Bible story in rocks. It's Samuel, and this is the little boy Samuel when he learned to listen and recognize the voice of the Lord. Does God talk to you? I'm sure he does, but often we first need to learn how to hear him. Did you know that when Samuel, the great prophet of the Old Testament, was just a boy, he didn't know how to hear and recognize the voice of the Lord either? Now, I have another video that you can watch where we talk about where to find the rocks, what shapes to get, and how to build your rock art collection. So make sure you see that video as well. So grab your rocks and your supplies and make sure you have a towel to protect the surface that you're working on. And let's get started. Let's make a rock picture of the boy Samuel learning to hear God talk to him. The art supplies that we need for this episode is really quite simple. We just need some bodies for Samuel, and that just means a long rock and maybe a little wide so it can be a body. Here's some examples. We'll also need some legs and arms, and so some long rocks. I call them stick rocks when they're long and thin like that. So we'll need several of those, and if they kind of match in length, it makes the arms and legs look a little more realistic. We'll also need some heads, so some round rocks. For heads, these little long ones are for feet, and I find them in the gravel. I also find these in the gravel, little tiny ones, and these will be ears. And so we're kind of looking for matching ones, like these two match, and these two kind of match. So as you collect a whole bunch, you'll be able to sort them through and find the ones you want. So super easy. And so you might want to pause the video now to go get your rocks. And if you don't have any of these shapes, that's okay. You can go ahead and either draw this with me on paper, or you can just watch, and then when you have time to go outside, you'll know what shapes you need to be looking for. Let's build the prophet Samuel when he was just a boy. Now, the first thing is we need a body, and this is the one that I finally picked out after trying a whole bunch of them out. But we could easily use any of these, because all you have to do is put some arms and legs on them and they look just like a body. So we'll try those out as we get some arms and legs here. But the first part I always like to do is to get a head. So here's a head, any circle rock, and you notice this isn't a perfect circle. Well, that's one of the tricks of rock art. If you use perfect circles, it doesn't look that good for people because people are never perfect. Let's try another head. Do you like that one? What about this one? See, that's a little more perfect, and it just doesn't look that great. I like the ones that are not so perfect. How about this one? Oh, that's giant. Don't you think it's a little too big? So I think this was my favorite. So you should try out all the circles you have and see which ones you like best. And then the next thing are going to be some legs. Now, the legs are fun because we just find some long rocks and stick them on there. Now, I was really lucky to find one that's kind of curved here because I wanted him to be leaning over as he's listening to the Lord. So if I pull his leg out a little bit and it has that curve, it's really kind of like he's lifting his leg up because he's really leaning in there to listen. But, we had picked out a bunch of possibilities and we could stick any of those on there. Let's put these on and see what we think. Okay, there we go. We can kick out the leg a little bit here. Now notice this one's kind of pointy. It works, but that's why I didn't choose that one. And here's another pointy one. We'll stick the point on top. You see how any of these will work. This one is a little different because it's got that angle. It's almost like his knee. So let's see if that looks like a knee. Hey, that kind of looks like a knee sticking out there. But my most favorite were these others. So that's why it's important to just pull all of your rock shapes out and try as many as you can because you'll be surprised at what you find. Now, how about some arms? Well, the first arm, I'm going to stick out here. And the other arm, we can stick out here. Okay, he's got his arms. But the whole point of the story was that Samuel's learning to listen. So we really ought to get some ears on Samuel. So I found these tiny little rocks. And here's some other tiny little rocks. Lots of tinies. And these are the ones I finally decided on. Now, you might wonder where I found these. I just simply went out to find some gravel anywhere I could. And there's some gravel near my street. And I just picked up a handful and brought the handful home. And then I sorted through them until I found the round rocks and the long rocks. And these are a little bit longer than round. And then I sorted through and tried to find ones that look like each other. And these two look like each other. And these two kind of do. And you start matching them up. And that's a really fun game, just matching them up. And then I started putting them on heads. So I found a head and I took 2 ears and I thought, you know what? That doesn't really look right. That looks kind of like maybe a puppy dog. So I thought those don't look like ears. So I tried some more until I got these really skinny ones. I said, okay, those might be ears. Well, that's how I did it for Samuel. And we'll put his ears on. So you might want to pause the video if you have some gravel that you're working with and see if you can find some matching little teeny rocks that could be those ears. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Uh-oh, I bonked his head. We'll lift that up again. Now that he's got ears, we need him putting his hand to his ear like he's really trying to listen. Oh, I bonked him again. Okay, so he's listening. Now, let me tell you this story because it's a wonderful story in the Old Testament in a book called Samuel. Now, I thought it'd be fun for you to see some of the alternatives when we're making the rock art and how it still can work. So, for example, this body of Samuel, what if we didn't have that one, but we used maybe one of these other ones that we have? Let's see what it looks like. One night, when Samuel was just a child, he heard a voice calling his name, and he was sure that it was Eli, his teacher, sleeping nearby. And so he went over to Eli and said, "Yes, I heard you call." And Eli said, "No, I didn't." And Samuel probably scratched his head and thought, And Eli said, "You just go back to bed." So Samuel went back to bed. And it happened again. He heard his name. He heard this voice. And of course, it was Eli. He was the only person there. So he ran over to Eli's room and said, "Here I am." And Eli woke up and said, "I didn't call you." Well, it happened one more time, and when Samuel was over there, "Here I am," Eli said, "Oh, I see. I think that the Lord is calling you." So he said, "Next time, go back to bed, and next time you hear your name, say this. Say, 'Speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth.'" He was basically saying, when you hear that again, tell the Lord that you're there and you hear him and you're listening. And so he did. He went back to bed. He heard his voice again, and he sat up and he said, "Speak, Lord, for thy servant Samuel heareth." Isn't that beautiful? And the Lord was talking to him. So isn't it interesting when Samuel is just a little boy and the Lord was talking to him, he couldn't hear him. He couldn't understand that it was the Lord talking to him. And why would that be? Well, maybe it's because the Lord does not always speak in actual words that we're used to hearing when we talk to each other. Sometimes the Lord speaks in a different way. He speaks in feelings in our hearts. Have you ever felt happy or joyful? Well, sometimes that's the feelings of the Spirit that come from the Lord. So we need to learn how to hear him, and this is a depiction of Samuel learning just that. Okay, well, that's our rock art for today, and I know that you can hear the voice of the Lord as you practice and learn to be close to him. All right, until next time, I'll see you again and we'll share another Bible story.